Painting on various sheets of paper allows me to see how the paint blooms, absorbs, and dries. Each has a unique way of handling watercolor, and the surface shapes the painting. 6 sheets of paper and one painting. I decided to do a deep dive with various papers to see what the results would be if I stacked them and created one painting. So I decided to study beans, this yellow, green, and this is sort of a dark purple green. I love painting plants that are in season. I found these the colors interesting, the shapes were interesting, so I thought they would be a fun vegetable to study for my paper deep dive. So let's get right into it. My favorite paper is the hot press, which means it is smooth. You'll get a soft look for color, and it will show a lot of detail. I don't recommend it for beginner level, and I would say you should practice quite a bit on a textured sheet before you move into the smooth. Mostly because once you let your paint dry and you add another layer of paint, this technique is called glazing, that paint layer will be more obvious. You will see the shape that you create more distinctly on a hot press sheet. These two are arches and fluid, and I think they are equally beautiful and have the same effect. The next sheet that I recommend for my students is the cold press. It hasn't been ironed down. It has texture, and it is going to blend beautifully, even with glazing. The color is going to be very dynamic. You do have the texture, which will sometimes affect how the actual plant looks. So most botanical illustrators use the hot press because they want to add that texture, the implied texture. They don't want the paper to add that texture, but it is a great type of paper to start with when you're beginning in watercolor. Another of the cold press is a fluid brand, and it has less texture. So if you do arches, you're going to have this really bumpy, thick cold press, and with fluid, it's going to be somewhere in between what you're getting with this arches cold press and what you would experience with either of these two hot press. And then I also decided to try out Rembrandt brand because it is what Daniel Smith, the paint supplier that I use, it is their recommendation for paper. I recently went to a workshop. They were using this paper. They highly recommended it. So the texture looks a little bit more like a pattern, more machine made. So if you don't mind this texture, it's a great way to go as well. I think I will try it because I really do like this texture. I'm someone who prefers no texture, but it's fun to play around. And I think it has a really nice effect. It blended really well. I really enjoyed watching the paint on the surface. So this mystery sheet, I have one that's mystery sheet. This is the paper that I used years ago when I learned to paint. And in the video, when I'm painting, you'll see that the paint stays on the surface for quite a long time. It may be because the age of the paper. Now, this is more of a hot press, but closer, I'd say, to a fluid cold press because it does have some texture. So once again, the sheets that I recommend if you are a beginner is starting with the cold press, and the brands are Arches or Fluid. And once you become a little bit more confident, you know how to add intentional detail, and you are okay with the blending effects with wet and wet, then you could move on to a hot press. And again, the professional grade Arches or Fluid are wonderful. They're 140-pound Always start with the highest content of cotton that you can because you'll get a beautiful result as well. And so I use 100% cotton. And so these are the papers that I recommend. I hope you enjoyed this study. I'll be doing more deep dives into technique and also the tools that I use with my painting.